of the House to now adjourn. I call the honourable member for Lalor.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And my focus in this adjournment debate is on apprenticeships and youth employment. Last week in my electorate, I focused on apprentices and apprenticeships. Lalor currently has 3,800 apprentices. I visited Cummins, a heavy diesel engine maintenance company, a global company who recent winner of the Wyndham Council Mayoral Business Award for their great work with local schools in trades and in preparing and training apprentices. This company has links to the local Len and Beacon as well as schools. I also had a visit from Shadow Minister for Vocational Education, Sharon Bird, and we had a meeting with apprentices at the Werribee Plaza building site. I learnt a lot, Madam Speaker, from both visits. At Cummins, I heard about their membership of Beacon, which speaks to this global company's positive corporate attitude to youth employment. I also heard about their involvement in the local learning employment network, the LEN, whereby they have donated diesel engines to the Point Cook Senior College Trades Training Centre. Students from across the Wyndham Vet Cluster access this equipment. They provide great support for apprentices, and their current apprentices act as young ambassadors in a mentoring role for students from Lalor and Wyndham. Through Beacon, they help develop employment skills through mock interviews and resume requirements, as well in a voluntary capacity. It was a terrific visit, Madam Speaker. With the Shadow Minister, I also had a very powerful meeting with apprentices at the huge Werribee Plaza redevelopment site. It was great to see the pride in these young adults as they move to work and adulthood. In the meeting, the dozen or so apprentices raised a few issues with the Shadow Minister and I. They talked about the great program that was Tools for Trade. One young plumber talked about his regret that in his second year he wouldn't be able to purchase the tools that he'd planned to after purchasing a collection of hand tools in his first year. None of the apprentices we spoke to, of the dozen or so apprentices we spoke to, were interested in the loan option. There was only one considering it who expressed that his parents weren't keen. And now we know, Madam Speaker, that only 1% of apprentices across Australia have applied for the new loan scheme. One of the other issues that was raised at the site, it became apparent, was that where we were talking about licensed trades, both plumbers and electricians, we had half a dozen apprentices on the site who joined us that day, but when it came to carpentry and non-licensed trades, there was only one carpentry apprentice on this site, and it came to light in our discussions that there were many 457 visa workers on that site who were potentially taking the place of young apprentices from my local area. A shame, I think. They also discussed increased TAFE fees and the quality of their courses. They expressed concern about some of the private providers and that they didn't think they were the best option. They talked about a lower quality and sometimes more expense. They also talked about a lack sometimes of the reimbursements from their employers in reimbursing them in upfront fees for TAFE. They talked about the high cost of licensing test fees at the end of their apprenticeships, particularly the electrical apprentices who were faced with fees of $1,500 to sit their A-grade exams, and of course those are at the apprentice's cost. They also spoke with great remorse about cuts to the mentor program. I was pleased, Madam Speaker, to hear the apprentices, however, value the union support for those in licensed trades were getting on site. The CFMEU officer was a member of the LEN and was assisting in that capacity to ensure local kids get connected to commercial building opportunities. And the ETU have an apprentice advocate who visits the site regularly and acts as a sounding board and support for apprentices. Madam Speaker, I am critically concerned about youth unemployment and youth underemployment because Melbourne's West has high youth unemployment. I am critically concerned about what I heard from some of those apprentices, and although we saw fabulous work happening with Cummins and its links to the LEN and to schools, I'm afraid that unless a state Labor government is returned to government in Victoria,
The
that will be
member's
gone
time
too.
has expired.